good morning, I suppose. Good afternoon. I'm in Melbourne in Australia, so it's good evening from here. And today, obviously, we're going to talk to you about reinventing the reliability pyramid. And when I first came up with this title, people kind of looked at me and said, "But the reliability pyramid's been around for 10s, 20s, not sure how long it's been around. It's a proven tool. Surely it's perfect and we don't need to touch it." And I thought exactly the same thing until about a month or two ago, when I had a client who was using the pyramid, and he'd come a little bit unstuck with it. So what I'm going to do in this short presentation to you is take you through the journey I went through with that client on how we reinvented the pyramid and actually helped him to develop a roadmap to reliability excellence that he's still using now. And it was actually only by pure luck that I noticed that the tagline for this seminar today is roadmap to excellence. So I think it's very fitting. At the end of this session, you will have your own roadmap to be able to take forward. So let me click through. A little bit about myself. So my background is engineering, maintenance manager positions. Spent about 15 years actually in the role, working in predominantly manufacturing sites, and founded Your Maintenance Coach back in 2012 with the sole purpose of really being able to share best practice and help maintenance and engineering managers to accelerate their reliability journey. I was very conscious that over the years I'd been, stuck in little spots and things had gone slowly. So I wanted to share all of my knowledge with everybody else. And of course, over that time, I've been fortunate enough to work with literally dozens of businesses across the world. And what I'm able to do today is take all of the little bits of best practice from these companies and share them with you. Now, let's get into this reliability pyramid. So a quick Google search, which is obviously where we always start our information, tells me there's over 6 million search results for the reliability pyramid. And not all of them are pictures, lots of them are text, lots of them are documents, but it certainly does appear that there's hundreds of variations of this reliability pyramid. And down in the left-hand side here, we've got our natural maintenance maturity pyramid, which many of you will be familiar with. On the bottom right-hand side and the top left, we've got that pyramid with some extra building blocks thrown in. And some of these other ones I show you here are from trainers and consultants like you're hearing from today, who have their own pyramid to sort of leverage their own programs. And it's an interesting one because, as I say, I've used this for many, many years. And one thing that strikes me when we look at these is there's, with the exception of the one at the bottom right, none of them are pyramids, are they? They're all triangles, which means they're all very two-dimensional, which brings me to some of the issue that we have with the pyramid, in that the building blocks that are in there, all of these little blocks, they're all great tools. We've got craft reliability, we've got failure analysis, we've got preventative maintenance. So I've got no issue with using the pyramid building blocks as the tool. The challenge I have is when we start to use that pyramid as the roadmap to excellence. So I want to explain this through a client that I was working with let's call him James. And I've changed his name to protect the innocent and the embarrassed, as they say. But James is actually two people. So it was by pure stroke of luck that in the same week, I spoke to two people who had the same problem. So they both called me in to start to do some work with them on their CMMS system. And the meeting started as it normally does. Simon, sit back, let me show you the corporate reliability strategy. Let me show you what we're doing as a business. So, okay. So these are both fairly large businesses, but small factories, but lots of them. So both Jameses brought up, first slide was the reliability triangle. And they had the building blocks. And they told me how they presented this to upper management. They presented it to the finance people, and everybody loved it. And don't you find that? I mean, I've certainly found that particularly with corporate organizations and engineers. I'm an engineer myself, so we have to know our faults and our limits sometimes. That triangle, that pyramid, and taking things step by step It's just such an engaging, structured way to approach reliability. So these Jameses, they launched this, and I said, guys, this is great. You know, I can help with the CMMS. I'm sure all of your other initiatives have gone really well already. To which they surprised me, because they both said, actually, we're 12 months in and we really haven't made any traction. Right, okay. Let's dig a bit deeper. Why aren't we moving along this roadmap to reliability? Let me explain a little bit about the problem that I saw. So back to our pyramid. Now, James had, as you would see, CMMS, he had culture, stores, I'm not going to fill it all in. We had lubrication, and we had executive engagement in there. And some of the things that strike me with this, and this is one of my arguments I'm going to put forward to you today. Let's take the CMMS. Now, when we approach it in this way, and the way that James had approached it, he wanted his CMMS work to be perfect before he moved to any other stage of the pyramid. And the challenge with that is the work you do on your CMMS or culture or lubrication or stores, the work you do on those things when you're in a reactive state is very different to the work that you do on those things when you're in a proactive and even at a reliability excellence level. So my argument is that they aren't actually building blocks, but instead you should represent them as pillars going up and down the pyramid. So some of the other things that stood out for me with James was we had culture down there at the bottom and culture change. And as we know, we've kind of just heard about this in the last presentation there, very difficult to change culture first and then go and make changes in your business. In fact, the reverse is true. Only by implementing all of the building blocks in your pyramid or your roadmap do you truly see culture change in the business. And similarly, your executive engagement. Yes, you get executive engagement when you've implemented everything, but in order to implement everything, we actually need to start with the executive engagement. This was the problem that we saw with James. Let me sum it up. He was using this pyramid as a roadmap, step-by-step roadmap. How do we climb the pyramid? So I want to shift our thinking now to roadmaps. It's the theme for today. And I want to talk a little bit about what I see in good roadmaps and bad roadmaps. So let's start with bad roadmaps. And when I talk roadmaps here, we could be talking about reliability strategy documents, we could be talking about action plans, or we could just be talking about the graphic and the model that you're using. So the first challenge I see is that roadmaps, bad ones, are very fragile. Yeah? So the organization builds its reliability improvement journey based on, sometimes it's a couple of individuals. So you might find your whole lubrication success is based on one person who knows the site well. You might find that all of your, the structure in your PMs and your predictive techniques are actually based just on one contractor or one consultant who knows what they're doing. And at any time, you move that card and the whole thing comes tumbling down. The second challenge with bad roadmaps is there's lots of waiting for people. And I'm sure you've all been on holiday in pre-COVID, and we could go on holiday and visit places and we had to queue up like this. But James's roadmap, while he was working on his CMMS, his stores person was waiting, saying, what next? I'm just waiting. His operators were waiting to say, when can we do some TPM? When can we do some operator maintenance? And his reliability engineers were just really engaged, wanting to fix up that CMMS. But of course, because we're working on the CMMS, we've got to wait. The third issue with bad roadmaps is they're very slow to implement. And I see this so much in corporates, particularly where there's multiple sites, where one engineer is trying to make everything the same. And I do a lot of work with this. I was one myself in the past. And it's this trying to make everything perfect just slows the whole thing down. So the whole project becomes slow to implement. And of course, when these things are slow to implement, you start losing support for the whole thing, don't you? So it might be, if you're the engineer or the manager who's in charge of the reliability roadmap, you go away go off on holiday for a week or a weekend, and you come back and all of your resources have scattered. All of the good work that you've done is starting to disappear. So we lose support for our initiatives. Let me show you how we get that support back. Let me show you first how to engage your people in your roadmap, and then I'm going to show you how to actually create one, show you what it looks like. So great roadmaps, great maintenance strategies. What do they look like? And I start with this type of thing because if we jump straight into, it's got TPM and it's got lubrication, we don't fully engage our people. So I encourage you that, when you're starting to explain your roadmap to people, start with this type of explanation. Why are we doing it? So the first great thing I see in these strong roadmaps is the strength. I use the Great Wall of China because it's not the widest building in the world. It's not the tallest. It's not the biggest. And in fact, we talk about it being the longest, but there's even, as far as I'm aware, hundreds of kilometers of it that are now ruins and completely missing. But such is its size, such is the strength of it, that everybody knows it and recognizes it as a powerful visual. Businesses that achieve reliability excellence, they do it by working together. Yeah, and we've seen three or four presentations today where this is a common theme coming through. It's different departments working together. It's people from the same maintenance team working together, where everybody's pulling in the same direction to achieve this reliability excellence, and whatever that means for them, because for everybody it means something a little bit different. These great roadmaps allow work to flow through. Yeah, they don't need one person pushing the information down. They don't need one person constantly trying to feed training material and manage where we're up to. Because everybody's engaged, the work just flows. It just happens seamlessly. And finally, with these things coming together, instead of you losing trust and people running away, the business actually trusts you. Yeah. And a lot of, often I do a lot of keynote speaking, and one of the things I use, one of the presentations I do is maintenance team villain to superhero. Because really that's what we're trying to do. We want the business to see you and your reliability journey as the superhero in the business. Yeah, think Batman and Robin and Superman. And this game here on this slide, I don't know if you've ever been on a training course where they do this. It's called a trust fall, where you fall backwards and you have to trust somebody to catch you. For me, I've been on a few of these courses, but I've got to say, as an engineer, I've never let production catch me. I'm not quite sure they've ever had that level of trust in my maintenance team. But that's what we want with this roadmap to reliability. Let's jump back to James quickly. So we had this pyramid, didn't we? You'll remember we had this real strong structured pyramid. And I identified with James that the structure, the boundaries, and the limiting beliefs around our perfectionism were what were holding us back. So we set about dismantling the pyramid. And these are just some examples of some of those blocks that go in there. There's many, many more. There's pyramids with hundreds. You can choose your own. So we've dismantled this pyramid. And then James looks at me and says, well, how do we put it all back together, Simon? How do we put this back together in a model and a shape and a format that I can use to actually get my team to reliability excellence, get my OEE up, stop the breakdowns, reduce my costs? And we started playing about with some ideas, and then we stopped ourselves. We said, hold on. Just before we go into that, let's really understand, what do we need from this roadmap? We're going to create the roadmap. We're going to create all the technical stuff. But what do the rest of the team need from it? What does the business need from it? So from this, we came up with the 5 roadmap must-haves. So what I encourage you to do is, when you're building your reliability strategy document or your roadmap to excellence, or I'm going to show you how to create a reliability assessment tool now. These 5 things must be included in there. These are your 5 keys to success. The number 1, the next step must be super clear. Yeah, we really need everybody, not just the leader who can see CMMS now, stores next, lubrication next. They're easy steps, but they're too high level. We want our maintenance manager to be able to see next steps. I want my storeman to be able to see next steps. And I want my accountants to be able to see what's the next step for them where they can get, really push into reliability excellence. Number two, often we build these roadmaps and these strategies, but we don't include any of the training, do we? And I've certainly been at the wrong end of an assessment where I was just left with, there's your roadmap, there's your assessment, go and fix it. So with James, what we decided is whatever tool we put in place, all of the training needed to be there too. Our people could just go and pick the right training off the shelf and go and implement. Number three, absolutely critical, is that we needed to know the score of this reliability journey. Yeah? This roadmap, we needed to know where we were, we needed to know how fast we were moving, and we needed to know if we were winning or not. Ultimately, the only way to win approval from the business, more support, more resources, is to show the benefit we're delivering. So we wanted to make sure that we knew the score. Fourth one, and this was really from James, he says to me, Simon, I'm the maintenance manager. I don't have the time to be driving this all of the time. I need the team to pick up some of the slack. I need the team to be able to be self-sufficient and do this for themselves. So what I'm going to show you next in this roadmap is about how to empower the team. I use this picture, those of you with children, when your children learn to walk on the first day, they fall over. We don't say, oh, let's not worry about this walking thing anymore. We help them up. We learn by that mistake. We give them the support and the training to move forward. And it's very important that we're doing that same thing with our team, be it technical skills, be it leadership skills, doesn't really matter, but we need to be able to moving forward with them. And the fifth thing, the fifth very important thing that James requested, he wanted his team to be able to embrace change. Yeah, wanted them to embrace change. And when I look back at my 20 years plus now in industry, I can safely say that the thing that sets apart okay teams and amazing teams is how well they embrace, adapt to, and run with change. Yeah, so just like the changing seasons of these trees, we know change is coming. We know part of our business wants to continuously improve. We're always trying to drive different things through. Now, if your team is one that openly accepts, let's have a look, what's the next change? How do I embrace it? How do I make my department better? Then you're in a good place. But if your team is one where every change, no matter what it is, it might even be moving workbenches in the workshop, if that is a struggle for people, if it's a constant argument, then the whole process is going to be very difficult. Okay, let's jump back to James now. So we've discussed the problem. Our problem was we had this pyramid that was far too structured. I showed you that we dismantled all of those bricks, blocks, and we've got them now sat out here. These are all our different initiatives. The next thing I want to show you is how to rebuild this. And this really is the crux of this presentation. Really, really want you to sort of have a look at this and think about if your reliability journey, your roadmap is stagnant, if it's going the long way round, have a look at this and see if this can help you. So there's 4 steps in this that I would work with. So number 1, choose your categories. Yeah, what are, and you can look at massive amounts of textbooks, all the other reliability pyramids, but choose the areas, and these are just pure examples. So I don't use these specific ones, but these are good examples. Choose 12 categories that you think are the most important to your team and your business. And every business is different. I work with timber mills and milk companies, very, very different needs. Not one size fits all. So step number 1, choose your categories, choose 12 key areas. Now, CMMS, for example, lots fits into that. So don't think you're restricting yourself too much. We'll be able to include lots of different things in these categories. Why 12? 12 it's a good number. It works well. It's not overwhelming for people. You know, when you do audits and roadmaps with 40 or 50 different categories, even down to 20s, there's a lot in there. But when it's 12, everybody in the business can grasp working with 12. Step number 2, let's build your scorecard. So this is kind of our assessment tool. This is seeing where we are on our roadmap. And I'm going to speed up a little bit here, conscious of time. So on your scoreboard, we're going to put our elements down the bottom, aren't we? On our left-hand side, we've got what's traditionally our stages of the pyramid. So reactive, control, momentum, excellence. Again, there's a whole variety of different words there. These are the ones that I use because they quite nicely represent the stages of progression up the chart. The next thing I like to put on this scoreboard is obviously our percentages, because now we're talking about really turning this, can we use this as an audit tool, as a bit of an assessment to see where are our strengths and weaknesses. And one thing I'll say about these numbers, these percentages, is that often people find it difficult to engage with what the number is. So 50 to 59%, people look at it and say, well, what does it really mean? Is it good? Is it bad? Or when we move from 59% to 60%, we don't really recognize that. You know, we say it's only 1%. But let me give you a trick in how to actually recognize that and really engage your people. So what I do with my clients on my programs is, as their audit results creep up, we present them with karate belts. And it's a ceremony, and there's a big fanfare. So when someone moves from 49 to 50%, that's a big benchmark that it's a big step that they've taken. So this is around how we, comes into the culture and how you engage people in your reliability roadmap. And of course, we can use this as a overall scoring mechanism as well. We can use it as an assessment tool. So this becomes your assessment tool. Let me dig a bit deeper, because what James also wanted, you will remember, was training documentation and the next steps for his people. And we can't get that from here. So what we did with James is we built our subcategories. We picked the category, in this case, as an example, our CMMS, and we said, what goes into the CMMS? What's important for the business? What's important for your business? And James decided for him, training, standards, technology, KPIs were. Okay, let's now start to look, how did we build our training modules into this? Well, we came back to our scoreboard. We created a new scoreboard for our subcategory. We put our 4 elements across the bottom, and this now is really getting into quite a detailed assessment tool for you. And what we did, it matching up to the numbers as we went across, not just this is the audit assessment. We've all seen maintenance and reliability assessments and audits where each of these categories helps you to score. James went a step further. And what we actually put in each of these squares is a full comprehensive training document. So the guy who's looking after the CMMS, or let's say there's a training manager, the training manager comes along and he knows to get his blue belt, he needs to have all of his tradesmen being trained internally, not having to be sent out to the software provider for training. He knows to get to black belt, he's got internal experts who can train everybody in-house. So we've got the benchmarks, we've got the sort of the milestones, and as I say, the key thing for this is that behind each one of these, you've got a really comprehensive training document. And those training documents, by the way, many of them you can produce yourself in-house in some cases. Sometimes you'll produce them in-house, sometimes you'll come to external people or get external resources from conferences, webinars, books and trainings. This now, as you look at this, is James's reliability roadmap. So let me quickly show you what we've ended up with as we come up to time. So really what we've done is we've taken this reliability pyramid, this real structured step-by-step roadmap that wasn't working for James at all, and we've rebuilt it into what we're calling the reliability wall. we're from reactive to excellence. We're actually working on all of our different things simultaneously, and we're moving them step by step. Everybody is involved, the momentum is much greater, and the results are coming much, much quicker.